Yes, sir. Last question.
Assalamu alaikum.
No, alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum. Sir, I am Maaz. I work on research, Alama Iqbal, and many things I have read about you as well. Uh, I wanted to ask. I mean, there are so much. I'm one of the very extreme few researchers in Pakistan who believe in real research, and there are in all of our academic institutions are suffering from power politics, are suffering from power abuse, bullying. All the vice chancellors we see they are worshipping money and status in Pakistan, and we also see in mosques on religious identities. I mean, there are elements of arrogance and jealousy. The question I want to ask that all this work is so great, how can we? I recently also had a discussion with Professor Norman Finkelstein, and he talked about how can we transfer into activism, and you just mentioned about this into activism. So IMS team, if some of the members can go to schedule meetings with vice chancellors and tell them that hey, this is not the right approach, worshipping politicians, corrupt politicians, and all our universities are going through this process of academic identity we are losing, this religious identity we are losing, this moral identity we are losing, this in our academic institutions. So IMS team members can schedule this in universities, also in mosques. You can schedule these things to ask them questions that why is this happening and how to change these things, because all this information is available on social media. We can transfer it into activism and popular movements. Thank you, sir.
All right. It's not gonna. That's not the route I prefer, but yeah, that's correct. Whatever you said is correct. Not the route I would want IMS to take because these VCs and these are business institutes. They they call it a business institute. Whatever university you're talking about right now, other than the government-owned universities. So whatever government university wherever we can actually route IMS members to hold debates and call out, real movements. It's going to happen from the campuses, and unless we activate the campuses of universities, schools are not going to follow. You're young, you're studying, you're under the influence of real books and real real people are there. It's not on social media. People are there, so it can easily be done. They're already making clusters. They just make clusters for other reasons, but you can see on campuses, you can see real clusters, but they just don't come around Islam or the Quran or single purpose. They're always scattered around, fragmented into different things, mostly political. But some PTI people are going to do that. Some Jamiat people are going. I mean, you can see it so many times. The whole country was run because of the campuses for the last 70 years. They just had to dismantle it in the times of Musharraf. Before that, university campuses were calling the shots on what's going to happen in the next 5 years. Now they don't. So IMS can take over and fill that void and make people understand. But we're not in that number right now. We need to have those numbers. And it only comes when everybody brings in a couple of more people in the same meeting, in the same cluster, and makes them understand what the vision is. And it becomes a political movement. That's how simple it is. I'm telling you, I know a number. I know statistics. I know the law of induction. It's just basic. Okay. I know that number. As soon as I see that number on the IMS app, I'm going to start on different kind of module in that machine for the yu'allimuhum al-kitab. Right now, I don't even have, half of that number right now. And I don't even know what that number is going to translate into when the app is going to be launched and people are going to latch onto that app. That's when the real number is going to come in. And that's when we're going to run real programs there, right? And it's been a year and maybe more that I've been waiting for that app. And finally, I get to hear that this app is under the testing phase now. I still can't give you a timeline on this. That's the kind of problem I'm facing right now. So as soon as that app comes in, we are going to have some clarity on when is the next step of yu'allimuhum al-kitab. Right now, yatlu alayhim ayat. Produce as many researchers as we can on these sort of things, on this category. And kids should be talking about the, you know, these uh, structures in the Quran. That kind of knowledge set should be propagated every single, nook and cranny. That's what you say in England, right? So people would naturally come into believing us, whatever we're saying, understanding us. Yeah, unless you're talking about the Quran, you're talking about the space, and talking about the sign of the universe, you're not that attractive, I'm telling you. People are naturally going to be attracted to our kids when they're going to be running mathematics and physics inside IMS and explaining to them. Research papers are going to be flying through. Okay. And I'm going to tell you right now, and some of the IMS members, obviously a few, they already are in the research for math. I'm going to share with you some books of people in Multan who've actually given me, their paperwork and their articles, and they've been published, and they've been accredited, and uh, and they're mathematics professors now, and some students. So I mean, this is going to happen. But who's going to read the paper for mathematics in IMS? Nobody. You know what? No one knows how to read papers of mathematics. So we need to train people into that. That's how IMS is going to, that's how any change is done. But I'm not just talking about mathematics. All of this is going to go in parallel. So you need the mass, but mass only follows the elite. You need to create the elite, the intellectual elite, right? For that, the Quran, serves uh, the central purpose. Okay. I hope everybody is clear that it's going to take a little while. It's not going to take 10 decades or 2 decades. It's going to take half a decade, a little less, maybe more, a lot. But unless we put every day in, every day counts. I mean, why else are we here? I'll tell you a little exercise. I just gave my teen mentorship class. I hold a class in source code for only teenagers. So I was telling them that from now on, and I'm going to tell IMS to do that, everybody in IMS, whenever you wake up, and I hope you wake up before Fajr, but whenever you wake up, first 5 minutes, and you're going to start waking up before Fajr after this, okay? This activity has to be in every bits of IMS. When you wake up, you are going to spend 5 minutes, turn the stopwatch on, 5 minutes, not four, not four and a half, not six, not five and a half. 5 minutes, okay? There's a reason why I'm saying 5 minutes, because I know the withdrawal of the two chemicals when you wake up, the two primary chemicals in your brain. So I need them withdrawn. 5 minutes on the stopwatch. First thing you're going to do, you're going to spend 5 minutes thinking about the day of judgment, what's happening on the day of judgment. Imagine that. And inside hell, what's happening inside hell. And in Jannah, what's happening inside Jannah. Three things. 5 minutes, everybody. And that's just step one. I'll tell you what step two is. 5 minutes, 4K diagram should come inside your head. Imagine whatever you want to imagine. Just imagine. Obviously, you're going to imagine from the Hadith and the Quran, right? Because we know what's happening there. So you'll have to read to get that high pixel in that diagram. Read the Quran, read the Hadith. You'll find out what's happening on the day of judgment. 5 minutes, you're going to picture the day of judgment, what people are doing, what's happening, how people are yelling and crying, and I'm not going to go into that detail right now. And then in hell, inside hell, what's happening inside hell, and inside Jannah, what's happening inside Jannah, as detailed as you can, but no more than 5 minutes. Okay, no more than 5 minutes. Every morning, 5 minutes, you're going to put three things inside your head, and that's step one. Step two, in your IMS forums, one boy or a girl is going to stand up and he's going to tell us what he saw. Imagine, what do you imagine? And everyone's gonna just do an A circle and talk about this just for 20 minutes. That's it. Okay. And everyone's gonna listen to this is what I saw in the morning. Imagine. Next day, someone else is gonna do that. Next day, someone else is gonna do that. And I'm telling you this right now. You did this for less than 3 months. Less than 3 months. 5 minutes every day. Talk about it every evening or whenever you meet. This is going to become a global movement that very year. Inshallah. But you cannot miss out on a day of this activity. Now ask me, if you ask me, I'll tell you why 5 minutes, why these three things, and where am I getting this from? Where did I come up with this theory? How do I know it's going to work? That's the power of the Quran. That's the technique of the Quran. That's the technique of my Rabb Allah Azza wa Jal, who trained every human being in the day of Arabia when the Quran was coming down. And every Sahabi used to do that because Allah was making them do that. We have forgotten the day of judgment. That's why we don't show up. We have forgotten hell. That's why we don't care. We forget Jannah, and that's why we try and find it here. So as soon as you're gonna envision akhirah, okay, and I'm not gonna tell you the whole formula or the whole science behind this. I'm just gonna give you as basic as you want it. That if you do not have akhirah in front of you, okay, and if you do not do this activity, IMS is not going anywhere. But if you do this activity, IMS is just the beginning. You are going to take over the world. I promise you this, because this is the Quran testifying. That's how the Quran changed the world. For the first 8 years, Aisha bint Abi Bakr, radiallahu anha, she says, for the 8 years, the Quran only spoke about Akhirah. No law, no rule, no legislation, no nothing except only the day of judgment. The day of judgment. Jahannam, Jannah, day of judgment, only Akhirah. 8 years, only Akhirah. When the whole Arab was trained, every single instruction came down, everybody jumped in to follow without a miss. Without a miss. We do not perform in Islam because we do not envision Akhirah. We just talk about it sometime, once a year, twice a year. We do not envision, we do not imagine it, we do not see it. So every morning, 5 minutes, because if you're not going to do it for five, you're going to quit doing it. If you're going to do it for less, it's not going to have impact. And if you're going to do it for more, it's not going to have impact because you're going to quit doing it. But those 5 minutes, nobody can talk to you. No one. 5 minutes only, one day, every day. 24 hours, just 5 minutes for akhirah. When? When you wake up. And there's going to come a time where you won't even need a stopwatch. You won't need a reminder. You're going to wake up and you're going to see yourself in the day of judgment. Less than 3 months. You're going to wake up, you're going to see either hell or heaven every single morning. That's how the brain works. But you got to put your time in. Just 3 months. And I'm only asking for 5 minutes. And to make sure it happens, you talk about it in the evening in IMS meetings. If you do this, you'll see. You'll see. The formula is simple. It's called the Quran. The formula is simple. It's going to work, inshallah. Alaikum assalam.
Sahil bhai, I want to ask you. I was doing some research, and it is about that. So, like people say, like our ulama also say that Hazrat Adam alayhi salam came like approximately 10,000 years before, at an approximate. But some of the
Before what?
fossils and all that we find, it shows like even this was even before that also. Yeah, my question is that I saw in Al-Hijj ayat number 26, Allah used the word insan in Arabic, that Allah created insan. Then after two verses, Allah Ta'ala says, and Allah created, the word uses in Arabic Bashr. That's not insan, INSAN. So these two words are different. So do you think insan and bashar is different? That Allah created insan first, and this is Allah Ta'ala created insan, that is the past tense. But when Allah Ta'ala says Allah Ta'ala will create bashar, that is in the future tense. So does it imply that Allah Ta'ala created insan first, then perfected it by putting the soul, and final form was the bashar, that was Adam alayhi salam? So this is my one question. Another question related to this one only is, what is the difference between the soul of humans and animals and plants and jinn if they have soul? What is the difference between them? I know that in insan Allah Ta'ala put soul directly. And one question related to this one only. In this same verse, Allah Ta'ala says that human is created from like sounding soil, and the core of the sound is vibration. And we know now that all the subatomic particles and atoms and all, if you go deep into it, that's type of vibration. And when you were talking about in Surah Kahf, that Allah Ta'ala put zarb on the air of the guys who were there inside the cave, there also you talk about the sound, and again the sound is vibration. So these all are linked together. So you think that the same vibration from the vibrating soil that Allah Ta'ala made the human, the same vibration Allah Ta'ala used, the same type of vibration Allah Ta'ala used in Surah Kahf also, when we talk about the zarb on the people who were sleeping there. So this is how I was able to put in front of you. So I want your view on this, all in all this.
Tell me when you're done, sir. Should I start the answer?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, in your first question, there's an underlying assumption that Adam alayhi salam was made on this planet. He was not. Okay. For him to be picked out of or perfected out of the rest of the species, he would have to be on this planet. Okay. But he was not made on
Okay.
this planet. Okay. Otherwise, if I was to take your assumption, I'd have to make Adam alayhi salam from whatever species he was perfected out of, and then send him up into heavens, and then bring him back after he ate from the tree. Okay, that round trip has
Okay.
that's a very extraordinary leap, because Allah Azza wa Jal did not tell in the Quran that He picked Adam from planet Earth to heaven and then told him to go back.
No.
Okay,
I'm not telling that.
no, I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying there's an underlying assumption.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and that assumption is wrong. Now, what the number of years is could be 200,000 years ago that Adam and Islam came in. There's no way to find out how many years. Now, I'll tell you why I think it's way more than that, is because when we find the Sumerians were human beings. We find Mesopotamia, of course. When we find the Mayans, pretty old. We find the Asian Pacific, pretty old. Unless we look into the Easter Island, you know, monoliths and whatever structure that they have, we cannot find a time of the pre-human battle between the jinns and the angels. However, for the younger Dryas, that's 13,000 years ago, we can tell, and that could be one of them, because every 10,000 years, the glaciation happens. We're in the middle of the glaciation period, right? It's the two glaciations. So 13,000 years ago, the younger Dryas. Now that could be one of the warnings to Nuh alayhi salam that the water is about to come in. Could be. I do not know. I'm not saying it is. But the current dating in archaeology is way more than 10,000 years, actually way more than 20,000 years ago. Okay. I'll tell you something. Way more than 50,000 years ago. We're in America right now in America. And I'm not dating them. They are. So where are those civilizations from? And that's not Bashar or Insan. I'm talking about a very smart set of people. Okay. Very smart set of people. We're doing space programs, by the way. They're doing space programs. Okay. So they're under some prophet, alayhi salam. And that's maybe Idris, maybe Nuh, maybe, who knows? I cannot pick out a prophet, right? Because everybody advanced to something. In the Quran, Allah says, they've advanced to way more than you are right now, or wherever you are in the Quran. We know the advancement of the civilizations. Who knows? I cannot pick out a prophet, right? Because everybody advanced to something. In the Quran, Allah says, they've advanced to way more than you are right now, or wherever you are in the Quran. We know the advancement of the civilizations. So I'm going to give an example. The pyramids. Okay, about, let's just say 20 odd thousand years ago, pyramids. And I'm aware of why they're saying 2,500 years ago. And they're wrong. But let's just assume even they're right. The pyramids, around the planet stop being built suddenly. In other words, in one day, everybody stopped making the pyramids around the world. So Allah's wrath comes in, people get destroyed because of whatever they were doing with the technology. Now we know what they were doing, transgressing. In Surah Ghafir, Allah says, you have the force, use it. Up to the heavens, and you'll find who is the Sultan. Allah is saying, not saying that you're not going to be able to come up. Allah says, use the force, come up, I'll show you who the king is. Okay. Now, we do not know what happened thousands and thousands of years ago to the civilization, but we know that something happened because now we've dug them up. So Adam and Islam is not 8,000 years ago. That's the Bible, my friend. That's not the Quran. The Bible. And that's not too, that's not the Old Testament, the New Testament. Now that's the Bible you taught 8,000 years ago, maybe 10. Some say 10, some say 8. Muslims never, ever put a word on paper about when Adam and Islam, how many years ago Adam and Islam came down. Okay. But they do say came down. Qala ahbitu. To all of you, go down. All means 2 plus more is 3, right? 3. Adam al Islam, Hawa al Islam, and Iblis. Go down from this Adan, this heaven that I've actually put you in. Okay. So Adam al Islam, for him to come out of a species which most Muslims now believe because of the pressure of the philosophy, which is non-Muslim, and now Muslim is starting to come out. I mean, Muslim scholars are saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, Adam could have been evolved out of a species because Allah says, we picked him from them, a plural tense, that we chose him from them. That does not really mean from, you know, the Neanderthals and the pre-Adam evolution based, chimps and monkeys and whatever. No, no, no. That's not what Allah is saying. Allah could easily say, we picked it from the jinns and the angels and this human. We picked him from all the creations. That's the plural tense. That's so easy to interpret. I don't know why we have to create a lot of chimpanzees before Adam al Islam and say, that's what Allah is saying. We picked him from them. Okay? Because if he was different from the chimpanzees, according to them, according to evolutionary, scientists, then he does not qualify to be a part of them because he's different, and hence he's not a na'udhu chimpanzee. He's a human being. Allah Azza wa Jal is going to use the same tense to pick a human being from the chimpanzees or human beings from the angels or the jinns. Same word in Arabic. I don't know why we have to, introduce the chimps here. Because, Adam al-Islam is absolutely different. Absolutely different. According to the evolutionary biologists. The human being is there's a very slight difference, but it's such a big difference that a human being cannot be called a monkey from whatever angle that you're reading about, biology. We're not monkeys. I'm sorry. Now, even if I did come from a monkey, but I changed into a human being, 20 monkeys in the same room and me, they're not going to be like, hey, there are 20 odd monkeys there. No, there are 20 monkeys and a man. You know what I'm saying? So, Adam and Islam cannot be picked from a pre-Adam type species. No. Adam and Islam can only be picked from either human beings, okay, or all the creation to have this qualification of the word them. Okay, this pronoun them is used in the ayah of the Quran. So, just to close the suture up this argument, the 20 cats in the room and a sheep. You're not going to say, hey, you know what, pick out a sheep from them. Well, that would mean, there are more than a sheep there. There's either a cat. You pick out either a sheep or a cat. You're not going to say there's sheep in the room. No, there's just one sheep and 20 cats. Sorry, that's the correct way of actually understanding this. But if there are 21 cats, you can say, yeah, there are cats in the room. But even if there's a single sheep and 200 cats, you cannot say there are cats in the room. No, there are cats and a sheep. Okay? So this is how semantics work. And this is just basic. Your next question about sound. Yeah, there's a lot of correlations you can make about different ayahs in sound. That's a very long discussion. Go to Surah Kaf, go to sound, go to levitation, go to understanding Dawood alayhi salam. Dawood alayhi salam is the prophet who was given the gift of sound, and he was playing with the whole thing, and he could understand how to mantle and dismantle matter based on sound. Go through that. There's so much in the Quran about this. I forget your second question. So it's taking the whole session away from the IMS thing. So I'm trying to give you short answers. Yes,